Today we're going to talk about how a simple engine regasket job turned into a full rebuild. So this here is the engine we're going to be putting into this project truck. It's a 5.8 liter or 351 Windsor out of a 1995 Ford F250. So this is going to have a roller cam, well, you can see all the emissions and all that stuff. But a cool thing about this is a California emissions truck. So on 95 and 96 only California emission trucks, the 5.8 had mass airflow. This is usually reserved for 5-liter Mustangs and the 5-liter in this series of trucks, or I think Broncos and two. But if you had a California emissions, it came with the mass airflow and sequential fuel injection. All the other trucks were speed density and batch fire. So the nice thing about this is we're going to be able to put in a larger cam that usually wouldn't work well with a speed density, get more power, and it's going to operate properly with the mass airflow. What we're going to do is completely strip it down. Always a good idea with used engine like this is to at least re-gasket it. Rear main seal, oil pan gasket, valve cover gaskets, everything like that's going to leak. So we're going to strip this all down. In the process of that, we're going to put a new camshaft in. I'm looking at some specs for either a E303 Ford Motorsports or a Trick Flow Stage 1 cam. Along with doing that, we're going to freshen up the head, so at least put new valves in there, lap them, and then new valve springs to made up with the new cam, and then also new roller lifters. So we're going to start working on that, but before that I'll show you the transmission we're working with also. This here is the transmission we're using. It's a ZF5 speed out of the same series of truck, F250, F350. So the input shaft here is pretty galled up. That was the reason why the transmission was pulled. It was making noise. So the input bearing failed and destroyed that. So we're going to replace the input shaft, open it up, take a look at things. I mean, it got the transmission rebuild sticker on it, but who knows, someone just got that, painted it, and stuck it on there. So we'll be able to inspect it. There are some videos online of how to rebuild these, so I might link some of those that I looked at. But that's the transmission. What I'm doing is I was still waiting on some brackets and stuff before I put this in the frame. So we're going to work on the engine first. In order to bolt this into here, I'm going to be using engine purchase off a 351 modified 400. They're supposedly the same as what they use in the 302. And then I'll be swapping out these motor mounts for motor mounts that would have came on a 70 series 2-wheel drive truck with a 302. So ideally, the engine should fit in there without any issue. And then we'll just have to build a rear crossover to accept the transmission. We'll start stripping this down and then see what we got. So I got the engine tore down, and originally I said I just wanted to re-gasket it, but after getting it this far, I think I want to tear it down even farther, get some new rings in here, new bearings. Part of the reason for that is just peace of mind, knowing that it has all these new components, new rings and stuff. Is 150,000 miles. It's not super high, but that just means it's not going to be that long till it gets high miles. So it may not be that long till it starts having some blow-by and stuff like that. So got at this point, might as well put some new rings in it. Also, the block's kind of dirty. If I take it to machine shop and have it tanked, it'll be nice, clean, and ready for paint. We'll get all the gunk and stuff. There's some carbon deposit in here, but it's nothing too bad. But yeah, so got all the top end out, the roller lifters and stuff. Gonna rotate this thing over, get the oil pan off, and start getting pistons out. And it's kind of getting ready for taking the machine shop. We'll have to work on getting this the timing cover off and the pulley off, and find some replacement bolts for the ones we broke. But anyway, we'll get back to tearing it down some more. This probably looks a little different from the last clip. Just got this engine back from the machine shop. Had the block deck, so everything's true there. Honed, tanked, got new paint on it, all cleaned up. Time to start putting it back together. Gonna start with the camshaft and then go get in with the crankshaft. The cam went with, it's a roller block engine, so it went with a roller cam. It's a trick flow stage 1, which would be pretty good for the RPM range, about 15,000 to 5,500, I think. 1500 to 5,500 RPM, so pretty good for street, and then off-roading, just nice down low torque. So we're gonna go ahead and start getting this put together and maybe get in the truck. So I've made a bit of progress on this. You've watched me put all the pistons and bearings and stuff in there. Went ahead and got the camshaft in, timing set, timing cover, oil pan, oil pump, all that stuff. So the bottom end is pretty much all done. Still got to do the dampener and rear main seal. Next up is the heads, and I got a little treat for that because I was contemplating just putting the factory heads back on there, putting new valves in, stuff like that. I don't have them in here. They weren't that bad, but they're just they were the E7 heads. And I thought about maybe getting some GT40s, but then spend $300-400 on that and then rebuild them. So what I did instead, so I went ahead and bought a set of AFR the Renegade 165. So this is their smaller chamber volume, or intake chamber volume, that is. It's their street head with I think a 190 on the intake valve, which is, if you go with the 202, it won't clear the factory pistons. So this is more than enough flow for this engine for what I'm going to be doing with it. A bit of a step up from the cast heads. They're CNC ported, all ready for some aluminum rockers. So these are going to be a bit of an upgrade for this. Definitely help it flow better. Just work well with the whole combination with the newer camshaft, the mass airflow system that going to be running on this. So it's all going to be a good running engine, hopefully. Still got to get some shorty headers. There's something I'm going to try with this. I might try showing you is spraying some ceramic clear coat on this from Cerakote. There we go. I got the stuff right here. It's their MC 5100 specifically for aluminum. It's a ceramic clear coat, so keep these looking good for a long time. It holds up to, I think it's rated to 300 degrees. So it's not like 500 degrees like the paint, but if this head gets up to 300 degrees, we have other problems. Shouldn't really be seeing over 210, maybe 220. So yeah, that's the next step. I ordered some different head gaskets. We're gonna get these heads back off of here, wash them up, mask them off, and then put the clear coat. Because really, we're just gonna be this face, some of the casting back face, and then some of this stuff around here. This whole intake side is going to be covered up, and then part around the exhaust port is going to be covered up with your exhaust gasket. So there's really not a whole lot to clear coat, but definitely something I want to do because long term, 5 years, you don't want the aluminum looking like crap. I could paint it, but then also sometimes the paint doesn't stick to aluminum that well. So we're going to try clear coat and see how that turns out. So that's going to finish up this video. Got quite a bit of work done on this engine. Still more to go. I just set the valve covers and the intake on. Still need to get roller rockers and do the push rods and all that stuff. And more things to go on there. Next video, going to be switching back to this chassis, switching out some brackets, putting more stuff on, and maybe putting this engine in there and bolting that transmission up and figuring out a cross member. Catch you guys later.